and welcome to another episode of the Family Fun Force podcast. I'm Jess,
I'm Matt.
and today we're reviewing StormWorks Build and Rescue, episode 18. StormWorks Build and Rescue. There is no ESRB, but we will recommend it's most likely teen. It has blood and suggestive themes. This is available exclusively on PC through Steam. It is one player offline and up to 8 players online, possibly more than that. I don't quite understand, but what
Doesn't have a
stuff.
hard player limit, but
There's no hard player limit.
the servers can only realistically handle so many people before they
Okay.
crash.
This is a simulator building and exploration game. Metacritic does not have a review, but it is a 90% on Steam. Get your synopsis. StormWorks is a game where you design and pilot your own sea rescue service in a rich and dramatic physics playground. Steer or fly your custom design, block-based programmable vehicles in a fierce oceanic storms. Plan and execute thrilling rescues in a variety of challenging crisis scenarios. Alright, Matt, what you got for us?
Okay. Stormworks was developed by Sunfire Software, and they either changed or were bought by Geomata. Geomata, who's developing the game now, also developed Carrier Command 2, which is a naval warfare simulation, and then Peregrine, which is a story-based RPG thing. It looked like you play as an animal. I kind of want to check it out.
As an animal, now you have my interest.
Yeah, it looks like you played as like an ox thing.
Interesting.
So I'll probably check Peregrine out in the future. They also developed some other things, but those were the two I picked. StormWorks Game Mechanics. StormWorks is an open-world exploration, construction, and simulation game. You can build any vehicle, and I do want to stress any vehicle.
Any vehicle.
You can, boats,
UFOs?
planes, helicopters, cars, submarines, rockets, UFOs. People build spaceships.
That's
Now,
awesome.
it's not like Kerbal where you can actually go into orbit, but you can go up pretty darn high. You can operate the vehicles that you built to accomplish missions. These missions randomly spawn throughout the world and include things like rescue, transport, logistics. There's fun missions like moving nuclear fuel rods around a nuclear power plant. You can find buried treasures. You can go underwater in submarines that you build. All kinds of crazy missions. You can do all this in multiplayer to operate extremely complex vehicles or just hang out with your friends. The world features fully simulated weather and oceans. And I do want to stress the fully simulated part because this has the best water simulation I've ever seen in a video game. Every wave realistically interacts with your vehicles. As you go deeper underwater, the pressure builds, so you can build a submarine that's dynamically stable. This is the only game I have literally ever seen that has actual dynamic stability for submarines. And for people who don't know what that means, a submarine is two boats put together, and to make it sink, you actually flood the outside boat and keep the inside boat dry. And every submarine has a maximum depth where the amount of weight on the outside of the boat is less than the amount of air inside the boat because of the pressure. So most games don't simulate that because either the developers don't understand how it works or it just doesn't add to the gameplay. But this game does simulate that, and it's awesome. The game also has fish and sharks. The fish don't really do much, but they're fun to play with, and the sharks can be mean and nasty. All right, so Jessica, what kind of things would adults enjoy about this?
Real quick, I just want to say, no, I didn't understand anything you were talking about submarines. Also, you use two bows to make a submarine?
A submarine is two boats in a trench coat. Yeah.
Okay. And also, I didn't see any fish or sharks, sir. I don't believe they
You
existed.
might not have had them turned on. They are at a setting. Well, the
You
sharks
have to
are
turn them on.
on the server, but sometimes if it thinks your computer can't handle it, it'll turn the fish off. So you have to go in the settings and turn it back
Well,
on.
that shouldn't be an issue with my computer. Everything auto sets up to like hyper realistic, high graphics, etc.
Wow.
Okay. Well, I feel
Flex
gypped
much?
Cause, huh?
I said, wow, flex much?
I'm just saying it does automatically. Even though it's not beneficial for me. I didn't see the fish, so I believe you're lying. I don't think they ever existed.
So the whole
Um,
time when you were driving and I kept calling out all the fish I was watching, you never once were like, I don't see a fish.
I did say I don't see any fish.
Oh, wow. I don't know. Yeah, there's lots of fish.
I couldn't see anything when I was driving that boat. Okay. For adults, I would think this is an easy to pick up simulator that can be played solo or cooperatively. You can dig in a building first if you want to, or like me, you can't avoid it. So if you're not a builder kind of person, you can avoid it. Yeah, that's why.
Yeah, the game has
For
workshop support, so if you're not big into the building aspect, you can always hop online
download.
and download other pit players' creations. And honestly, there's such a wide variety of builds that you could find something enjoyable and that works for your current progress in the career mode. So I suggest that route for most people, honestly, because the building in this game is complex. I think adults would like the detail in the vehicle creation. If you're into that kind of stuff, if you're an engineer minded person, you'll find a lot to enjoy in this game. The multiplayer missions are super enjoyable, especially if you can get like 3 or 4 people. If you have a computer strong enough to run as server for 3 or 4 people, tons of fun. The missions can be a bit long though. There's just always something to do. No matter what, you're either going to a mission, you're building a vehicle, you're testing something, you're transporting fuel or other items. You're just always doing something in this game, and it's a lot of fun. What kind of things do you think kids will like?
I think for kids, this is a fun creation game that is very low on graphic content and encourages cooperative play. It also has an emphasis on helping others, which I think is good for kids. Um, yeah, I mean, we mentioned suggested themes. There's like a beer goggles hat, and I think there's some beer bottles, but eh. Matt said there's blood. I didn't see any blood, so I don't know. I would assume it has to deal with the sharks, maybe. But it's not really graphic. It doesn't really give you an option to hit other people, which I know sometimes is an issue with some games for kids. You can't really go after people. You know, you can carry people, but it's the survivors, and it's not like you're actually hurting them if you drop them again or something.
In the base game, there is no violence. They are planning on releasing a military DLC in the future,
Oh no.
but the game is build and rescue. You're supposed to be rescuing people.
Yeah. So I don't know. As far as simulator games go, it's pretty tame in terms of like getting to stuff that's not appropriate for kids. So it's good. What do you think, Matt?
I think kids will like exploring all the unique islands. There's shipwrecks, there's like underwater land features that are really hard to get to and fun to explore. There's like the Arctic. That's a whole new place in itself because like standard wheels will get bogged down in snow, so you gotta build with treads. You gotta stay warm. Kids like all the exploration. There's a lot of places to go. The devs are talking about adding in a new islands biome soon. So when that comes out, there'll be even more to explore. I think kids who are able to understand the builder, which we'll get to later, will love building vehicles. This is not as simple as Kerbal, where you're just sticking parts together. This is
Oh God, you
much
just
more in
said
depth.
Kerbal was simple. This is harder than
Kerbal
Kerbal.
is very simple
Oh
compared
Jesus.
to StormWorks. Kids also like just playing with the vehicles, driving boats, flying planes, crashing, rescuing, catching stuff on fire. There's
Who
lots
doesn't
to do.
love catching stuff on fire?
And yeah, kids will like the fish because, like I said, there's a lot of fish in the game.
Lies.
You can see the fish. You can go whale watching, or you
Didn't see
can
the whales either.
get chased by sharks.
No
Because
shark.
build a shark cage and then have the sharks come right up to you and be like, "Haha, I'm in a cage."
Would you do that
Would I do that? Build a shark cage?
in real life? Would you get in a shark cage?
No.
You don't trust it to work?
Okay. As much as I like boats, I really do like boats. and I do like naval stuff. I've actually done a lot of research, and I have a fair bit of knowledge on like ocean based stuff and navigation based stuff and airplanes and boats. I'm terrified of the ocean, so no.
Is it the ocean or the sharks?
The ocean.
The ocean itself. You wouldn't go that deep in water in it.
No. I don't think it if I was far enough out to sea that I couldn't see land anymore, I would probably start to have a freak out.
Oh.
And I've
Does that mean
I've
we
been
can't
on
ever
the
swim
open
in the
ocean
ocean?
before, but I've always been in sight of land.
So if we went far enough on the coast where you couldn't see land, you'd
I
freak out.
would probably lose my crap. Yeah. That
If
said,
it
I
was if it was free, I would get in a shark cage.
if it was free.
I don't know how much it costs.
I don't think
Money's
they're
usually the
that
factor for me.
incredibly expensive. It's more like you need to know people, and you often like you don't typically just pay to go on a boat to get in the cage. You typically like you're part of the crew, like you'll have a job, and that's part of why they're not that expensive because like you offset
Gotcha.
costs by, assisting with stuff. It's more like the time commitment that's really where most people can't do it.
Oh, not the threat of being eaten by a shark. Just
No,
stuff with people.
I, even if you don't have a shark cage, the chances that you actually get attacked by a shark on the open ocean are pretty slim.
I mean, yes, you're more likely to get killed by a cow than a shark. I understand those levels, but there's always the possibility where they decide they want to take a little nibble at you.
Yeah, but if you're on the ocean and you're seeing sharks, you should get out of the water because they might get curious and they might come over. But most shark, there's only like what three big ones that will try to attack you without warning. All other sharks pretty much are curious about you, like a cat. So they'll sit there and they'll sniff you and then they'll bump you and then they push you around. And only then do they go like, oh,
Yeah,
okay, yeah, I can take a bite. So like you typically
tasting.
have a lot of warning before you get attacked. But I mean, not always. Sometimes sharks just real hungry or real angry, or you scare it and it might just go right in. But most of the time, they're not like hyper aggressive. So I am honest. I'm less scared of sharks than I am of um like jellyfish because like you find yourself in a jellyfish field that could just
Well,
be
they don't
the
even
end of
know
a
what's
bad day.
happening. They just kill stuff.
Right. Or like rays because you can spook a ray and get real messed up. But like, sharks generally they're just big dumb fish, so like you just treat them like a big dumb fish and just don't get super close and you'll be fine. Eels are aggressive. They'll go out and bite you because they're mean.
Hmm. Well, I'd be aggressive if I was a little tube without legs too. All right, where are we at?
What did you not like? But you always yell at me because there's supposed to be something in
It's
between.
what you like. It's
Oh,
okay. I got a whole one sentence. I
wow.
personally really enjoyed the style of rescues available. I did also like the realistic scenarios and how you solved them.
Realistic scenarios and how you solve them. Would you
Yeah.
like to describe?
So, case in point, people are hurt in the middle of the water. So you have to pick them up and put them on your boat and then drive them to a hospital. It's literally that simple.
Well,
But that's what would happen in real life.
yeah, so when me and Jessica played, we played some multiplayer, and we had a boat where someone was injured in the engine room, which Jessica didn't help with because I had her pulling everyone else because someone was in the water. So she had to jump in the water and do a water rescue. And I went in the engine room, and you can use defibrillators to revive unconscious people, and then you have to use your medical kits to heal them. And then yeah, you put them on your boat and you sit them in the seats so they don't go flying off. And yeah, that's like the typical rescue. There's also fire. Do you remember putting out the fire on the beach?
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah. So you can put fires out by spraying them with fire extinguishers or water.
I mostly remember carrying people, if I'm being real.
How did you like the graphics?
I mean, they're kind of. Meh.
So you weren't a fan of the flat, no texture style?
I'm not a huge fan of polygons, no.
Yeah. I kind of like it. I understand a lot of people might not. It's got a really unique style to the graphics. where there's like no textures on anything. It's all just polygons and colors.
Okay, let me real. I did like the customization. I did like what you could add to your character.
Oh, the player customization?
Even though you had no hair if you wore a certain hat, beanie, I'm looking at you.
What kind of customization was it?
You can change your hat. You can change your glasses. You can change your face mask. You can change your clothes, including like an outer jacket. Is there more than that? Because that's all I did.
Oh, you can choose body types. That was about
Yeah,
it.
female or
Yeah.
male. I was wearing aviator jacket with aviator sunglasses and a face mask and a beanie.
Things I like about this game, I like the vehicle editor, but it is extremely in-depth and complicated to the point where I had to learn what stoichiometrics are.
What is that?
Yeah, stoichiometrics
Hey, what is that?
refers to the percentage difference between chemicals in a chemical reaction.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
that's something you have to learn for this game if you want to make your own engines because you can build your
Yep, that's a no for me.
you can use pre-built engines, which I would highly advise most people do, but eventually you're going to be like, there's this whole mechanic where you can build your own engine. And then you have to learn how engines work because you actually need to know to build your own engine for this
Yeah, I
game. It's
definitely
kind
don't
of
know that.
crazy. You can set the game to use simplified building mechanics where you don't all you need to do is put an engine, a power source, and then you set every control in the game yourself. So you could set it like the seats let you use keyboard shortcuts, or you can put physical buttons in the world that are so fun to click. Did you like the clickable buttons?
Some would say I like them too much,
Oh yeah. Yeah. Every time I got in the boat and I looked at the dashboard, she had flipped every switch on. I'm like,
including
we
reverse.
we don't need all these switches on.
But they're switches, and I'm going to turn them
And yeah, you put the boat in reverse and you're wondering why we're not going forward.
on.
And you're like, but it's a switch. I need to switch it.
Right. Why is it on the dashboard if I'm not supposed to switch it with the rest of the switches?
Because you switch it when you want to go backwards, Jess. So yes, the buttons and the building your own vehicles and putting your own clickable cockpits is so fun. But once you hit a certain point, it starts to get ridiculous. And they just added steam power and nuclear power. And
Ah, it sounds like explosions to me.
the nuclear power does require that you know how a nuclear reactor functions. And I know the general idea behind a nuclear reactor, but I don't know. That stoichiometrics thing is going to come up again with nuclear power, and the difference is if you mess up your
You dead.
stoichiometrics on a nuclear fusion reactor, you're going to cause a big boom. Yeah, I love the physics, the water physics. Did you like how the water behaved?
Yeah, except when it was going over the edge in our dock,
Yeah.
pushing my stuff everywhere, and
Right.
then trying to slam me in the wall. I didn't like that.
So the game does simulate weather. It simulates the wind, the clouds, the temperature, and it does it very well, but I don't think it's balanced very well. So we got caught in a storm where we had maybe 30-foot breakers,
Mm,
and that was high enough where it was coming up over our dry dock, and it would literally pick us up and like throw us like 10 feet.
that's crazy.
And I like the game has that ability. I'm not the biggest fan that it will very happily throw it at you the second day that you've played and you don't have any money to have vehicles that are really capable of dealing with that kind of weather. It's a little it's a little harsh, but yeah. The fact that that weather's in the game, so the wind is fully simulated. You can get if you're in an airplane, always take off into the wind so that the wind is pushing against you. Uh, and then if boats, you want to drive into the winds, well, more specifically into the waves, which are usually waves usually form the same direction as the wind. And yet you drive into the waves because if you drive alongside the waves, they'll happily roll you over and you'll drown. All
I don't
that is
like drowning.
simulated. Yeah, all that's simulated. I think it's fun. Also, temperature is simulated. You got to keep yourself dry and warm, or you will freeze to death. A lot of cool mechanics in this game. But Jessica, what are some things that you did not like?
So, I know I've said it before, and I'll say it again. I'm not a huge fan of simulators. This game didn't really get me, or I didn't get it. Maybe this is a personal flaw. There's not really anything wrong with this game inherently, but as far as what I didn't like, it's a little hard to just pick up immediately without somebody else. There wasn't really much of a tutorial in terms of explaining what you're supposed to be doing and how. I
do,
had to just
do you
learn on the
remember the
fly.
tutorial?
No,
Because we actually did play the tutorial.
it was barely anything.
It was go to the dock, get in the boat, drive to this island, use the fire extinguisher to put out this fire, carry the people to the hospital. That's end the tutorial.
Yeah, but there was other stuff I needed to know.
Yeah, Jessica
Um,
never even opened the vehicle editor.
Jessica never made a vehicle because she's a little lazy. You have to wait for the beginning of a new day to get the next generated mission.
Sometimes it's multiple days.
Like, I get the idea behind that, but it's kind of obnoxious when you're not like when you're like me and not building stuff and you don't have anything else to do in between missions.
I will
It's
say
boring.
there is a way to force missions to spawn sooner, but it typically just breaks the game.
Well, don't do that. Don't want to break your
Now,
game.
this game is technically out of early access at this point, but I think it still has some early
Oh
access
yeah,
problems.
that'll happen with games. Oh shoot, I scrolled up.
Like they the devs are very good. They release updates weekly and they typically try to address bugs quickly, but some bugs have been lasting. Like the mission generator does sometimes just die for no apparent reason, and there's nothing in game to tell you that it's dead except when you're sleeping in your bed for 3 months waiting for a mission to generate and you realize it hasn't.
Oh boy,
That can happen, yeah.
I'd like to sleep in my bed for 3 months.
Yeah, stuff like that. The dev team, they're great, they're wonderful, they're always releasing updates, but some stuff still slips by. The vehicle construction is a bit extreme. The fact that I need to look up terms like the stoichiometrics
Yeah, that's
and
crazy.
how that works, that's a little bit more than I bargained for in a video game. I think it's cool that it's there. It's a little nuts. Just going through the workshop and seeing what other people have done will reaffirm that you can do anything you want in this game. It just takes a lot of trial and error. Yeah, some people won't like the graphics. That's okay. I do think the game world, if you're playing the standard career mode, is a bit too brutal. It's very easy. Jessica was getting annoyed with me because I was very concerned about her rolling our boat, and she was like, why do you care so much about if we roll our boat?" Because if you roll the boat before you have enough money to buy a new boat, it's game
You
over.
ain't got no boat.
Yeah, and the game can be really harsh like that. There's settings you can set to offset the difficulty, but it's still it would not be difficult to ruin your game just learning how to play. Yeah, that was most of my complaints with it. What do you think about similar titles to Stormworks?
I think the only thing I had was boat can sometimes be hard to maneuver.
Yeah,
I had a
the
hard time like doing anything and driving the boat at the same time.
boats are hard to drive. They're not like cars. And the beginner boat that the game spawns you with is actually probably one of the easiest boats to drive, and it was still a handful.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I inherently I don't find like something wrong with this game. It's just not something for me. As far as similar titles go, I mean, I don't really have a big enough repertoire to recommend stuff. I guess here's where I'm gonna reinsert Spin Tires, Mud Runner, or Snow Runner. There's rescue missions where you're saving other vehicles, and there's objectives, but you have certain vehicles available to you. This doesn't have any building, it's literally just the driving part, but you're going around a map, unlocking it, getting new cars, and saving cars and doing objectives, so it just
spin tires in legacy games are similar. They're, fully simulated physics, driving, towing, a lot of the same sort of. That game has some of the most realistic mud I've ever seen in a video game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's your some of the titles?
I mean, Kerbal Space Program, big one. We already talked about it. Good game. You should go play that. If you like Kerbal Space Program, but you're like, I want something harder than orbital physics, come play StormWorks.
Still blowing my mind that this is more complicated than Kerbal.
Oh yeah. Subnautica is similar. There's survival aspects. Now you don't have to eat food or drink water in Stormworks, but there are still survival aspects that are similar between the two. And again, we've already talked about Subnautica, but it's another good one. Lots of pretty fishies,
Hey, that
ocean.
expansion's out now.
It is. The expansion is out. Subnautica
Standalone.
Below Zero.
And there's
And
more walking around on the ground if you didn't like being in water all the time.
yeah, you can actually climb out of the water, which was actually my biggest complaint about the first game because there were a couple islands that you could get on top of, but you couldn't actually walk. I guess your person forgot how to walk when they, you know.
Hey, jelly legs.
hmm
Makes it hard when you got jelly legs.
There is an early access game called Starship Evo coming out that is almost identical to Stormworks, but spaceships instead. And it looks very promising, but I'll put it out with the caveat it's early access, it's still very early, and there's not a ton to do in it right now, but you can build vehicles just as complex as in Stormworks, except you don't need to know what stoichiometrics are
You can't even say
in
it. It's so complicated.
Starship Evo. It's not that important. So there's that. And I'll leave off with my last one, main assembly. I think that's a fun sandboxy build them up. You build robots to do objectives. It's fun. I play it with my son all the time, and he loves it. And all we do is drive around and wreck every street lamp that we see because he
I'm
likes it
gonna
when they
wreck it.
explode.
Personal rating. Another simulator I don't much care for. Yeah, I mean, I can't inherently say this is a bad game to get, but unless you're big into Sims and you're big into building, it's probably not gonna be the game for you. If you a friend is like, here's a copy, let's all play together online, and it's like a group of 3+ people, it's probably fine. But by yourself or one other person trying to figure this stuff out, it's not fun.
Yeah, I would say if you have friends who play this who are willing to build and they just want someone to play with, you could easily have fun learning to drive your friends' vehicles and never have to touch the super complex builder. There's always stuff for you to do. There's always ways to make stuff cooperative. You could build trains and have your friends helping you hook up rail cars and stuff and, just hang out. That kind of stuff could be fun. Building cranes and trying to load a rail car with someone driving a crane who's never driven it before. That could be a blast.
Cranes aren't hard. What are you talking about?
Oh, oh. Hey, you want to play some Stormworks when we're done?
No, I don't. I'm tapping out on that one, boy.
Yeah.
Boy,
Yeah, I'd give this a solid recommend to anyone who enjoyed Kerbal or similar vehicle sandboxes and wanted something more complex, or who wants a boat game with good boat stuff, because this has the best boat stuff that I've seen so far. And they'll probably add sailboats soon too. So look forward to that.
might be interested in trying out a sailboat, but honestly, I just don't know if I get back to this game at all. Just how it is for me.
All right, Jessica, is there anything you wanted to talk about?
Oh, you're talking about outside of the game. Sorry, I thought you were still talking about the game. I'm on Twitch. Dragon _of _rampage. Are you doing anything extracurricular, sir?
Not really.
He's on Twitch.
I do a little Twitch, but I'm not talking about that this month because my schedule's about to go all crazy again.
Wonky donkey.
Yeah. So, come hang out on our Facebook
Yeah, find
page.
us on
Come.
Facebook via Family Fun Force. Join our group, Family Fun Force Pod group, and join our Discord. If you would like to chat with us or look at our content, get updates on material, yada yada yada, all that jazz, Give us a review on the podcast. We appreciate it. Send us an email. Questions, comments, concerns. We appreciate any feedback as we still have gotten none. No feedback. Do you have anything else you want to
No, not really.
add? Okay, our next title is
It takes a few.
It Takes a Few to Make a Thing Go Right. It takes this few to get it out of sight. It takes two. We're playing the cooperative game. It takes two.
And then we're getting divorced. That's how the game works.
Okay, we're done. Goodbye.
Bye bye.
I'm so tired, man.
Did you just fall asleep in recording? I think I was wearing boots and a life jacket and a headset. I think that's what I
No
normally
pants
wear.
or shirt. Hot.
Wow.
What the fuck is that?
Yeah. So you want to try asking that again without the swear word?
Guys, we recorded this on our anniversary. That's how much we care about it. I could have spent my time doing something else.
Wow.